Why is Russia losing so many tanks in Ukraine? And does this military failure push Putin's arrogance to take nuclear weapons as a last resort to complete the invasion of Ukraine? A few days and we will be able to storm Kyiv and control it. That is perhaps the idea that came to Russian President Vladimir Putin when he decided to launch the invasion against Ukraine. Ukraine, which decided to join NATO in order to become a threat to the Russian presence. As Putin says, what is the use of this world if Russia is not in it? The Russians drowned in their dreams, as they expected a quick victory, as happened on the island of Cyprus, as they did not expect the war to consume so much time and losses. And we are now witnessing an imminent nuclear war from Russia. This war revealed the weakness of the Russian equipment in the army. Estimates indicate that the Russian losses have reached at least 2,300 military vehicles so far, in addition to the human losses of the Russian army. Some estimates have reached at least 2,700 vehicles. Perhaps most of the Russian losses so far are tanks, from light amphibious tanks to heavy tanks that the Russian army has long praised and presented to the world as lethal weapons. Today, it represents the shame and disrepute of the Russian weapon in front of the world. According to a site specialized in military equipment, Russian tanks were estimated between 390 and 460, which are most likely as follows. They were divided into about 184 tanks that were bombed and the Russian army succeeded in destroying them, and 6 tanks were destroyed in the field. 42 tanks were decommissioned and became under the control of the Ukraine, in addition to 2,000 military armored vehicles. Most important of all, the warship Moskva is one of the largest and most important Russian warships in the Black Sea. Perhaps a question arises for you here: is the reason for the Russian losses due to the strength of the Ukrainian army or the weakness of the Russians? There is no doubt that the support of NATO and the United States of America for Ukraine is an important reason for Kyiv's steadfastness so far in the face of Russia. Since the beginning of the war, the NATO alliance has supported Ukraine with more than 2,000 missiles, which Ukraine used to strike the Moskva and succeeded in sinking it. According to Lockheed Martin, Javelin missiles can be fired so that the missile explodes over the tank, where the armor is weak. The United Kingdom has also sent at least 3,000 anti-tank missiles, which are also designed to explode on top of relatively exposed tanks, and has sent suicide drones to Ukraine. However, the Russian weakness and logistical failure remains the main reason for its incurring all these losses. As a quick comparison between the Russian amphibious tanks participating in the war with the American tank Abraham, which the Americans granted to Ukraine. Experts confirmed that the Abraham tank won its military mission on the battlefield not because of its strength, but rather because of its design capacity. Its efficiency is good. For example, the American tank, Abraham, is distinguished by its advantages, as it includes 4 people between a commander, a driver, an expert colonel, a gunner or responsible for adding missiles, which makes the number of its members larger in the field. It is worth noting that most Russian tanks suffer from a shortage of personnel, ease of seizure, and ease of endangering their crew due to the presence of shells directly under the tank. It is worth noting that most of the tanks that were seized were not destroyed, but rather were abandoned by those responsible for them. The British Broadcasting Corporation quoted Abraham as saying that "I have seen pictures of the Russian tank being pulled by Ukrainian farmers' tractors." He attributed the reason for the Russian soldiers abandoning their tanks because they ran out of fuel, and this is a logistical failure. While the tanks got stuck in the spring mud that Ukraine suffers from at this time of the year, and this is another mistake made by the Russian high commands who invaded at the wrong time of the year. The question remains, what weapons does Russia have to preserve its military honor in this war? Unfortunately, there is no escaping the answer. Nuclear weapons are the last work of Vladimir Putin to spark a nuclear war.